The film begins. A building hidden in an old, dense forest. Inside this deserted building, there were many terrifying paintings. One of them was of the dark goddess. Strangely, the painting showed the dark goddess with a single hole where her eye was. It seems as if someone is watching from the other side through this hole. Then the view of the building is shown, and there is complete silence inside. Out of that silence, the sudden sound of someone growling is heard, and then a strange smell of something being eaten wafts through the air, as if an animal had just devoured its prey. Then suddenly, from under a door, a small innocent child's severed, blood-soaked hand is placed outside, and we realize that whatever animal or monster had hunted, it was a human. In the same scene, we are also shown a large box containing many more hands like this. The scene ends, and in the next scene, we see a lifeless man lying on the ground. It is revealed that this man's own daughter, Isa, murdered her dad because he used to torture his children. At this time, when Isa, drenched in blood, goes to the washroom to clean herself, she suddenly sees the shadow of her dead dad behind her. As she turns around in fear, the shadow disappears. She was extremely frightened at that moment, and she felt she was seeing this because of her fear and guilt. To get away from all this, she quickly leaves the house with her brother. She was also supporting her brother, and she says, "I'll take you to a safe place where Mom used to take me." But during their conversation, an argument breaks out, and on the way through the forest, her brother Thomas, in anger, gets out of the car and runs into the woods. She can't find him, but suddenly she sees a bald girl in blue clothes standing there, holding something in her hand, and tries to go closer. But the girl vanishes behind a tree in an instant. At that moment, someone appears to be running toward her. Frightened, she runs, trips, falls there, and faints. While unconscious, she sees a very frightening vision, and as soon as she opens her eyes, she realizes she has come to a place in the forest where there is a building on the other side. This was the same building we had seen earlier in the movie. She goes inside and looks at the paintings there. In one painting, a nun was playing with children, and while she was looking at another painting, she suddenly sees someone running in the hall. She follows it to the first floor, where she sees a very large painting of the dark goddess. Suddenly, the same person runs behind her again, and scared, she comes back downstairs, where she encounters many nuns. The nun calms her down and tells her that she is currently in an orphanage. Isa tells them she came here while searching for her brother. The nun also, to her surprise, tells her that Thomas has already come here. They had brought him here after seeing him alone in the forest. Seeing her brother brought her relief. She asks Thomas, "What happened to you? How did you end up here?" When she asks how he got here, Thomas tells her he doesn't remember anything. It's a secret. She tells her brother, "Whatever happened to us, don't tell anyone, even by mistake." We see that his sister gives Isa a room upstairs to stay in, and she notices that the room already has many people's belongings, as if many people live there. On the other hand, we see Thomas, who was trying to sleep and was feeling very scared. So he starts to pray, and seeing him do so, the children ask him, "What are you doing?" He tells all the children about prayer. Strangely, even though the children had been brought up in a church orphanage, they still didn't know anything about prayer. Then when Thomas falls asleep, we see that from the broken ceiling above him, a very scary-looking monster was staring at him. The next day, Thomas is shown eating with everyone here. He noticed no girls here. The sister explained this orphanage actually doesn't admit any girls. This place runs on donations, but the environment here isn't suitable for girls, so only boys stay here. After eating, Isa takes him downstairs, and there she sees a small child, who is playing with a toy camera. Isa then sits with him and asks, "Can I look through this camera too?" The child hands her the camera. At first, She was quite enjoying it. But then suddenly she saw her dad's dead body inside the same camera, which shocked her badly. She leaves for the time being, and a little later we are shown that she is asking the sister for permission to leave this place for good, which the sister grants. Here Isa also asks them to try to have someone adopt her brother Thomas. She doesn't want to be away from him, but right now she can't give him a good future, and she wants him to move forward on his own. Now the sister shows her around the entire orphanage grounds, except for the mother's room. For some reason, going into the mother's room was forbidden. Outside, we see Thomas playing with all the children, and then the boys bring up Mother Michael. Thomas asks who that is. The boys tell him she's a bloodthirsty monster who roams around at night and eats poor, innocent children. Thomas doesn't believe their story, and they move on. On the other hand, we are shown that when Thomas was out with the other boys, they started teasing him again. Thomas threatens them. "You don't know my sister. She even murdered my father. And if I tell her that you people are doing wrong to me, she won't spare you either." That same night, while she was asleep around midnight, she saw a shadow in her room. It looked just like a human, but then its eyes opened, and it turned out to be just her bad half. Anyway, the next morning it shows Thomas wandering around the orphanage when he sees his sister changing clothes, and Sister Margaret, who is the oldest, catches him and, as punishment, shaves off all his hair. She feels bad for her brother, but since she was staying here in the orphanage, she couldn't say anything to the sister on his behalf. While she is cleaning up her brother's hair, she hears the sound of something breaking from downstairs. When she went downstairs, she saw that a sister had broken a valuable statue here, and Sister Margaret was there with everyone. She is told to walk barefoot on those pieces as a punishment. It hurts a lot. She starts crying and steps gingerly. Everyone tries to stop her, but she refuses, saying to let her do it, that she is offering her pain and her blood, and to her. Things seemed very strange because nothing is offered to God like this in any church. On the other hand, we are shown Thomas's friends. The boys tell Thomas that if he wants to become part of their group, he will have to complete a challenge. He must bring girls' clothes from the laundry. Thomas agrees and heads toward the laundry. It was quite dark there. Maybe he got lost. On the other hand, the sisters also find out that Thomas is not in his room. The sisters become very worried, not for Thomas, but because of what would happen if Mother caught Thomas's scent. Who was this mother? Anyway, that question also comes to her mind, as she had secretly listened to their conversations. Meanwhile, it is shown that in the room Thomas was in, a very strange shadow is seen. Only 2 glowing eyes, and huge, long, monstrous fingers. Before he could scream, someone came from behind, put a hand over his mouth, and took him out of there. On the other hand, the sisters had finished class with all the children and asked them where Thomas was. The children admit they challenged Thomas and that he went toward the laundry. Hearing this, the sisters whisper to each other, and the sister decides to punish the child who had challenged Thomas. But here, another sister tells her the time hasn't come yet, so leave it for now. And morning comes, and we see that Thomas was still sleeping. She asks Thomas, "What happened last night? What did you see there that scared you again?" Thomas says, "I don't remember much, but I saw a very scary hand and eyes there." She then gets back to her chores, and in one room she also sees that little child. The same child the sister had brought into the estate earlier. But the sister quickly closes the door of that room as if she wants to hide the child, and everything seems very strange to her. At lunchtime, a sister comes and tells everyone that a family has come forward to adopt Thomas, so everyone becomes very happy. After that, for the time being, the sister takes Thomas to her office. They ask Thomas what he saw in that dark room at night, and Thomas reveals that he saw a scary hand and glowing eyes. So the sister says to Thomas, "What do you think? Was it a monster?" "No, actually this place is built on a magical field. Many years ago, an angel of love used to live here who loved children very much and took care of them. And the one you saw in the dark is that angel of love. And because of her, all you children are so happy here." Poor Thomas, influenced by the sister's words, assumes that terrifying thing was an angel and leaves. After that, we are shown the sister heading with the child toward mother's room while she was investigating these strange things. Since she had seen that the sister made the one who broke the statue walk on shards and offer her own blood to God, she started finding everything very strange after that. When she looks at that large painting of the goddess, she realizes it is actually a carved doorway, and she goes into the passage. On the other hand, the other sisters had also brought the child into a special room. She tells the child that, with their help, his parents are inside. Go and say goodbye to them. As soon as the child goes inside, they lock the room, and the child stumbles forward. He was trying to find mother all over the room, but in that dark room, he couldn't see anyone. Suddenly, a terrifying hand reaches out from under the bed and pulls the child beneath it. After that, we hear the same chewing, gnawing sounds, as in the first scene of the movie, and we realize that a monster actually lives here, hunting these poor children, and that no child ever gets adopted and leaves. Meanwhile, outside we see all the sisters standing, and Sister Margaret, the head here, standing with a gun in her hand. We see that she, who had come into the room through the painting door, spots the child's severed hand. Before she can say anything, someone covers her mouth and takes her away from there. The child couldn't speak, but through gestures he makes her understand that there's danger here, and he also shows a hole in the ground where that danger might be. Confused, she goes outside for the time being and tells Thomas that something very strange is happening here and that, to save our lives, we must get out of here as soon as possible. As they are just deciding this, a sister comes and tells her that someone wants to adopt Thomas. Having already understood what kind of adoptions happen here, she refuses the sister and tells her that she is going to leave with her brother. The sisters say you cannot leave here. She gets confused, and the sister takes her to her room and shows her a picture. It was from her childhood. The sister tells her something shocking, that she has always been connected to this orphanage. She is Mother Superior's first adopted daughter, and she was given to her mom so she could be raised in a good environment. But you know that you have been chosen. Her mom had already told her that God had chosen her. But here the twist is revealed, that it wasn't God who chose her, but Lilith. Now, who was she here? That's the real twist of the movie. The one they always call Mother, whose painting has been put up here and which they have named the goddess, is actually Lilith. The sister explains about Lilith. She was Adam's first wife, and we don't worship God, but Lilith. Lilith absolutely hates men, and that's why we feed men to her. They say that we are all servants of Lilith, and we are called Lilim. Here, she removes her scarf to show her head, which was completely hairless. At this time, she tells Issa that you cannot leave from here. Hearing all this, Issa gets scared and attacks the sister, knocking her unconscious, then runs away so she can get Thomas out of here. She searches everywhere to save her brother, but she can't find him anywhere. She sees that 2 police officers had come. They had actually come here looking for them, and they were investigating their father's corpse. During this time, it was discovered that the 2 siblings were also missing, and they started searching for them because their car was found near the forest. That's why the officers soon reached the orphanage. Here, a sister says that no one named Thomas or Isa lives here, but Isa tries to tell the officer by knocking that we are right here. In the meantime, the officer finds Thomas, and seeing this, the sister's lie is exposed, and to save herself, the sister shoots an officer with her gun. The sister who shot the officer is shot and killed by the other officer, and then another sister comes from behind and injures that officer. It cuts from here, and in the next scene we are shown that all these people were in the mother's room, preparing an offering for their Lilit. On the other hand, we are shown that Isa had also been caught by a sister. They tell her, with a cloth tied over her mouth, that today they are going to give a special offering to their Lilit, and that offering is her brother Thomas. She says that being a slave of Lilit, being a Lilim, is a matter of great pride, but she never saw anything good in it that would make her become Lilit's servant, that is, a Lilim. We see the mother's room. Outside, there was a very large hole in the ground that we had seen earlier. Inside this hole, the sister goes and pushes Thomas in, and the officer, who had also been brought for the offering under duress, jumps in to save Thomas. Isa was very worried about how to save her brother. Meanwhile, the boy who had already been helping her unties Isa. As she is running away from there, she sees the sister who was the chief of everyone. The sister says that what Lilit had written will now certainly come to pass. We have given Lilit the greatest offering, and, after that, by opening the fourth gate of Bahal, she will come here to rule. As soon as she says this, she shoots her. She now understands that all these people are part of a cult and that Lilit is a demon. She also realized that the demon would soon devour her brother. That's why she immediately runs to the same room to save her brother where Lilit's lair was, the pit she had seen earlier. By this time, we see that Lilit had eaten one of its Lilim servants and had then eaten that officer as well. And before it could eat Thomas, Thomas hid himself right there. Thomas was scared when his sister came to save him, before she could rescue Thomas and get him out of there. Lilit comes after them, and she goes after it and tries to catch it. She manages to save herself, but Lilit still bites her leg. She and her brother quickly get out, and as Lilit tries to follow them out, Thomas comes out, picks up the sister's gun, shoots Lilit, and finally throws it back into the same pit. Finally, they escaped from this nightmare, after which they had to immediately flee from here as well. Before escaping, Thomas reminds Isa again that they have to save the other children too. To save the other children, Isa goes up alone and tells Thomas to wait for her below. When she doesn't come down for a long time, Thomas goes to check on her. At this time, she was standing drenched in blood, and the children were watching her. It turns out that she had hunted and eaten a child here, and now the Liliums were handing her another small child, whom they had always kept hidden. And she grabs this child too and tries to eat it. And here we understand what the sister had said. The meaning of that statement becomes clear, that, in fact, Isa had been chosen by their God. It had been decided that she would now spread her evils through Isa's body, just as she had been spreading them through the mother's body before. Now that demon had taken control of Isa's body. In other words, Isa had become the demon. She had become an accomplice of the Lilim cult, and was going to continue spreading evil, just as she had been doing until now. And with that, the movie ends here.